Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Community Unit School District 300 Board of Education, I would like to thank you for being in attendance, both virtually and in person, for tonight's board meeting. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Community Unit School District 300 Board of Education to order for Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Burkett.
Present.
Fiorentino.
Present.
Lamarca, present. Scarpino.
Present.
Stevens.
Present.
Thomas.
Present.
Zettler.
Present.
We have 7 board members present.
For those who have watched our board meetings both in person and over the internet, you will remember we have rules of decorum. These rules serve as a purpose, so we as a board can have a meaningful and productive board meeting. In order for this to occur, decorum must be maintained. The following are the rules of decorum. First, there is no need for anyone to call out comments during our meeting or to raise their voices, nor to interrupt another speaker or presenter. We as a board will listen to you and be respectful. We will consider your comments, but will not dialogue or engage with speakers in this forum. Board members may choose to discuss matters brought up during public comment during board discussion. However, I need to remind everyone that this would be a board discussion and the board will not dialogue or engage with anyone other than the superintendent and other board members. I ask you to please be respectful, civil, and courteous during our meeting. Second, if a person chooses to be disruptive, I will gavel them and then ask them to please stop their disruptive behavior. Additionally, our district safety officer or his agent may warn them that if they choose to continue their disruptive behavior, additional consequences will be forthcoming. Third, if a person chooses to continue to be disruptive and not follow the rules, they will be removed from our meeting. This action is a direct result of the person's choice to be disruptive. Fourth, we as a board will respectfully listen to each speaker. Just because we didn't vote the way someone wanted us to does not mean we didn't listen or take into consideration what they had to say. Lastly, please remember we all learn differently. Some of us take notes during presentations and therefore take our eyes off of the speaker. It doesn't mean we are not listening. Fifth, in our effort to accommodate the ability for more seating in our boardroom, we respectfully request that the audience remain in their seats throughout the duration of the meeting, with the exception of using the restroom or speaking at the podium. And finally, I want to thank you in advance for your cooperation. The board and I look forward to a meaningful and productive meeting. Superintendent Harkin.
Yes, I'd like to invite Dr. Melanie Gravel, principal of Wright Elementary School, and her students to lead us in tonight's pledge.
Good evening, Superintendent Harkin, Dr. Scarpino, members of the board, and all in attendance at this evening's meeting. My name is Melanie Gravel, and I'm the very proud principal of Gary D. Wright Elementary School. Also here this evening is our school's assistant principal, Sarah Monroe. It's an honor to introduce to you this evening the following 10 students. They are all 5th grade students at Gary D. Wright Elementary School, and they are all outstanding musicians. They are involved in either band or orchestra, and some are involved in band or orchestra plus choir. All 10 of these students were recently selected to represent at our school at the Illinois Music Educators Association District 9 General Music Festival. This festival was held last month in Streamwood at Oak Hill Elementary School. Our students were able to participate in many master classes led by wonderful clinicians, and they have shared with me as a result of their experiences, they were able to engage in a variety of musical experiences, including learning how to play the harmonica, also participating in choir, learning several other instruments, and also, while they're here as musicians, they also learned a Festival of Lights dance. I am very proud for these students to be here this evening and to help us lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Students, please turn and face the flag. And please place our hands on our hearts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And at this time, I would just like to announce these students' names so that they can also, they will wave, and then students follow around to meet our board members, okay? We have Jacob Coffey, if you want to give a wave, Sophia Bernaghi, Alexander McDuffie, John Tyler, Autumn Olson, Hendrix Godey, Briley Curry, Brooke Van Duzen, Riley Derner, and Emma Tersha. Thank you so much.
Parents, if you want to go back with your kids, you are fine. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. We understand. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Congratulations to you. Okay, item number 5, the approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Thomas. Fiorentino.
Aye.
Lamarca. Aye. Stevens.
Aye.
Burkett.
Aye.
Zettler.
Aye.
Scarpino.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Superintendent Harkin.
Yes, it has been a very sad couple of weeks here in the District 300 community. We have 3 people we'd like to acknowledge during our moment of silence. The first would be Jerry Roberge. Miss Roberge passed away on the night of November 3rd. She had had a career with District 300 for 25 years, since the beginning of January of 1998 until her death. She did serve as a paraprofessional from 1998 to 2002 at Meadowdale Elementary School, and until just recently, from 2003, she was a paraprofessional at Lakewood School. We also recently tragically lost Miss Linda Brody. She passed away on November 10th. Miss Brody's career was with the district for 38 years, since the beginning of December of 1984 until her death. She had an extensive various positions within the district. She started out as a special education teacher at Meadowdale Elementary School, starting in 1984 to 1990. She then went on to be an early education, special education teacher at Lakewood School in 91, in Kings Road School in 1992, at DeLacy Family Education Center from 1993 to 95, and then she transitioned into a special education teacher at Jacobs High School from 1996 to 2013. She then transitioned to being the school psychologist at Wright Elementary School, and she's been in that role since then. And I will tell you, I was at her service this weekend, and I know that the family and the community are very disheartened and very sad for the loss of that longstanding person, as well as Ms. Roberge. And then the last, I'd like to acknowledge Board Member Christine Burkett's father passed away in October, and I wanted to acknowledge his passing and express our deepest sympathy to Ms. Burkett and her family. So if we could, I'd like to offer a moment of silence for these three individuals. Thank you.
Item 7, recognition. Superintendent Harkin.
Yes, so tonight we are pleased to recognize and celebrate District 300 students who have earned the Pop Warner Little Scholars recognition through their participation in the Algonquin Argonauts football and cheerleader programs. At this time, I'd like to invite our scholars to the front of the boardroom. In just a moment, we'll play a video featuring Stephanie Schroeder, the Pop Warner Little Scholars Coordinator for the Algonquin Argonauts. During this video, each scholar's name will appear on the screen. I'd like to invite each of the students who are here tonight to please raise your hand when you see your name appear in the video so we can be sure to recognize you. When the video is over, I will invite you to shake the hands with our board members and myself. Students will also receive a certificate commemorating their fantastic achievement. At this time, I'd like to invite our community to watch the following video celebrating the success of our amazing Pop Warner Little Scholars.
My name is Stephanie Schroeder, and I am the Pop Warner Little Scholars Coordinator for the Algonquin Argonauts. Pop Warner is the only youth football organization that has a focus on academic standards. Pop Warner focuses on success on the field and in the classroom. Chicagoland Pop Warner acknowledges students with a cumulative GPA of 94% or higher for the previous school year. These athletes are Pop Warner Little Scholars. Athletes with a cumulative GPA of 96% or higher qualify as national scholars. These athletes compete for All-American status. Each of these athletes completes an application where they highlight their accomplishments outside of sports and their contributions to society via volunteering. Pop Warner determines the top 35 football players and top 35 cheerleaders to be first-team All-American scholars. The Algonquin Argonauts are District 300's only Pop Warner feeder program. There are Algonquin Argonaut alumni in all 3 District 300 high schools. The Argonauts were able to qualify 37 District 300 athletes for the 2021-2022 school year. 15 of these athletes were national qualifiers, and 1 athlete was a first-team All-American scholar. Go Argonauts!
Good job. Yes, yes, please. Good handshake. Again, parents, if you want to go, please feel free to. Thank you very much, and congratulations to you and your children. Congratulations.
Oh, wait till everybody's out. As part of our staff recognition, we have 3 of our employee groups that had their recognition and appreciation days since the last time we met. So the first group I'd like to recognize is our School Psychologist Appreciation Day. On November 7th, District 300 celebrated our School Psychologist Appreciation Day, highlighting the important work our school psychologists perform to help all students thrive. School psychologists provide support and interventions to help improve academic achievements and promote positive behavior and mental health. They also consult with teachers, families, counselors, social workers, and administrators to improve support strategies and school-wide practices, advocating for students, families, and the community. So please join me in recognizing our school psychologists for their unwavering commitment and contributions to our district. The next group was our Education Support Professionals Day, which was on November 16th, which will be tomorrow, and we will celebrate our education support professionals, who consist of secretaries, administrative assistants, paraprofessionals, specialists, food service personnel, and hallway monitors. These hardworking individuals help District 300 achieve its mission of providing engaging and inclusive educational experiences that empower and equip all our students to discover, innovate, and succeed now and in the future. And on behalf of District 300, I would like to acknowledge and thank our education support professionals for their service and dedication to the district. And last but not least, on November 18th, we will celebrate Substitute Educators Day, and District 300 recognizes our substitute educators for the very important role they play in our schools. Our substitute teachers serve as an educational bridge when regular classroom teachers are absent. They also backfill for our paraprofessionals that also require substitutes. Our substitute teachers are flexible and resilient and are always ready to provide support. So lastly, please join me in thanking District 300 substitute educators for their unwavering dedication to District 300. And that concludes our portion of recognition for this evening.
Thank you. Item number 8, board announcements and good news.
On November 11th, our country celebrated Veterans Day to commemorate those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Veterans Day, according to the U.S. Department of Defense, is meant to honor all veterans of the uniformed services who have served or are still serving during times of peace as well as war. In recognition of this purpose, District 300 staff members engage students in educational activities on Veterans Day intended to better inform them about those who have served and sacrificed. On behalf of District 300, I would like to thank the following members of our District 300 family who have served our country: Randy Bruce, Jacob Crenshaw, Lily Dowie, Everline Dodson, Daniel Dorsam, Dana Garnett, Christina Hall, Eric Hunt, Kyle Lobdell, Daniel Martins, Felicia Maxa, Stephen Nakamura, David Nowak, James O'Reilly, Leander Portocalis, Kenneth Ransom, Dr. David Scarpino, Vincent Ciratella, Katrina Shador, Vincent Fuentes Jr., Thomas Sitke, Jason Smith, Michael Storer, Emmanuel Thomas, Daniel Vital, and Daniel Wagner. District 300 extends its appreciation to our veterans. These individuals, as well as their families, have sacrificed so much to protect our freedom. And on a personal note, I'd like to acknowledge my father, Albert Zettler, who served in Korea, and we were proud of him, we still are. Thank you.
District 300 to host parent-teacher conferences on November 21st and 22nd. District 300 schools look forward to hosting parent-teacher conferences on Monday, November 21st, and Tuesday, November 22nd. Please be aware that these dates occur during the start of fall break. Each school has sent an email communication to families that provide specific information on how and when to sign up for conferences. This message includes a school-specific registration link via PTC Wizard, the system that the district uses to schedule conferences. Please contact your school's main office directly should you have any questions or need support.
Andrea Spina, a first-grade teacher at Gilbert Elementary School, received a teacher salute and an incredible prize from 93.9 Light FM after being nominated by an appreciative school parent. Ms. Spina initially received $250 as part of the radio recognition and also qualified for a 3-night vacation to Florida to Universal Orlando Resort, which she ultimately won. "Thank you for this program," said Ms. Spina to radio host Melissa Foreman when first told she had been recognized. "Thank you for highlighting teachers. My colleagues, they just shine every day in the classroom, and I hope that all parents and all families just know that their kids are loved." District 300 congratulates Ms. Spina for receiving a teacher's salute from 93.9 FM.
Three District 300 students have been selected to participate in the Illinois Theater Association's production of Shrek, the musical. Hampshire High School students Felicia Lascano and Audrey Wagner will join Jacobs High School student Braden Follett in bringing the production to life. Performances will take place in mid-January during the Illinois High School Theater Festival in Bloomington Normal. District 300 congratulates Felicia, Audrey, and Braden on being cast in Shrek the Musical.
Before I read a statement about the superintendent search update, are there any veterans or individuals active or in the audience? There he is. I know the one. I know the one individual, but he's going to stay seated. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. At this time, I would like to provide the community with an update regarding the search for District 300's next superintendent. For reference, this will be the third update regarding the superintendent search. The first update was provided during the October 11th board meeting. A video and a transcript of the first update are available for the public to view on the District 300 YouTube channel and website, respectively. The second update was provided in the form of an email that was sent to all District 300 families and staff on November the 4th. This second update is available for the public to view in the news section of the District 300 website. As mentioned in my November 4th update, the first task the board identified in the selection process was determining who within the district was qualified, certified, and interested in the superintendent position. 5 qualified and certified internal candidates submitted applications and were invited to a formal interview. To ensure parent voice was represented throughout the interview process, I delivered a presentation during the October 26th Parent Advisory Council meeting, which is a group that includes parents from each District 300 school who learn about the district's operations, policies, initiatives, and board functions. During this meeting, parents engaged in several activities, including developing a series of interview questions and identifying the traits, qualities, and capabilities that would be essential for the next superintendent. All of this information was provided to and reviewed by the board. The board then hosted 2 special board meetings on Wednesday, November 2nd, and Thursday, November 3rd, to conduct interviews with our 5 internal candidates. Each candidate interviewed in front of 2 panels. The first panel included members of the Board of Education, and the second panel comprised district administrators and union leaders. During the second panel, candidates responded to questions provided by the Parent Advisory Council. Throughout the first round of interviews, all 5 candidates answered questions that covered a wide range of topics intended to determine how each would improve academic outcomes for all students, ensure the safety of all students and staff, build relationships with our entire community, make prudent financial decisions for our taxpayers, achieve organizational success, and much more. Ultimately, there were 2 candidates who delivered exceptionally strong interviews. Both of these candidates also had a proven history of consistency, demonstrating many of the traits that both the Parent Advisory Council and the Board of Education believe that are essential for a superintendent to succeed. Consequently, the board invited both of these candidates to return for a second round interview. Last week, the board hosted 2 special meetings on Tuesday, November 8th, and Wednesday, November 9th, to conduct second round interviews. During the second round interviews, each candidate delivered a formal presentation to explain 2 critical items. First, how they would ensure students meet or exceed reading and math scores on the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, and second, how would they ensure all District 300 schools receive either an exemplary or a commendable designation on future Illinois report cards. Both candidates also produced a detailed entry plan for their first 100 days as superintendent, along with their proposed organizational charts. Board members asked each candidate to explain how their entry plan would work in tandem with their vision for staffing to drive positive student outcomes and organizational success. Finally, both candidates took a leadership profile assessment to identify their leadership styles and strengths. The second round interview period for internal candidates has now concluded, and the board has officially entered into the next phase of the selection process, the evaluation phase. During the evaluation phase, the board must determine if either internal candidate meets or exceeds the criteria required to be named District 300's next superintendent. To successfully conduct this evaluation, the board must develop a complete and accurate understanding of both candidates to determine if either can successfully address 2 non-negotiables. First, The ideal candidate must unquestionably possess the skills, characteristics, and qualities deemed necessary by both the Board of Education and the Parent Advisory Council. Second, the ideal candidate must be an ideal organizational fit for the district. If the board believes one of these internal candidates possesses all of the skills, characteristics, and qualities required, and is an ideal fit for our organization, then the board would close the evaluation phase and enter into the hiring phase. The hiring phase would include the development of a formal transition plan and a contract offer for the candidate. If the board determines neither candidate meets our non-negotiable requirements, then we will transition out of the evaluation phase and enter into the external search phase, which involves identifying a consulting firm to assist in conducting a search of external candidates for the position. At the conclusion of tonight's board meeting, the board will go into closed session where we will continue our work in the evaluation phase as we assess both internal candidates. During the next board meeting on December 13th, I will provide the community with an update on the superintendent search process. Thank you. We are now at item number 8, public participation. Please note that the Open Meetings Act provides any person the opportunity to address the board under the adopted public participation policy. That being said, the board would like to advise the public that we will not consider statements read during public participation that are not authored by the reader to be credible unless the board has previously received the statement in writing from the author. Additionally, the author should indicate that he or she has granted the public participant the authority to read the statement on his or her behalf. Tonight, we have had 2 people fill out the request for extended time document. One was granted, one was denied. One met the criteria, one did not. We have had 11 people sign up for public participation. I will call each of you individually up to the podium. Please state your name and relationship to the district and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please note the following. Each speaker has been provided with the guidelines for public participation. Minors need to be accompanied by their parents or guardians. The board will consider your comments, but will not dialogue or engage with speakers in this forum. Questions raised may be assigned to the superintendent for an answer. As appropriate, a member of the administration may reach out to the speaker to give them relevant information or to ask for additional information. This is done to make sure the board has all the information needed to properly address the speaker's concerns. Charges, complaints, or challenges against staff members of the district will not be heard in open meetings and should be made in writing to the board and superintendent. We also ask that speakers refrain from personally attacking district staff or members of the board. Pursuant to board policy, this evening's participants, unless they have been revised, must limit their comments to 3 minutes. We ask each participant to be respectful to all individuals who have signed up to speak and adhere to the allotted time limit. We also ask that speakers conduct themselves in a civil and courteous manner and refrain from trying to engage members of the board in dialogue during public participation. Failure to abide by board time rules or those found out of order by the board may lead to exclusion from the meeting, to be fair to all participants. Thank you for your understanding. and your cooperation. Our first speaker for 3 minutes, Alyssa Lindmark.
My name's Elisa Lindmark, for the record.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm used to it. All right. My name is Elisa Lindmark, and I'm the mother of 2 marginalized students in the district. I'm also a proud mom, sister, friend, and ally, which is why I came here to show my support for the LGBTQ+ community tonight. This community has recently been the target of politically charged attacks. The most recent was the request and release of a FOIA that included all communications containing the code word swans from 2019 to present. After its release, I read the entire FOIA. Within it was an email from a former GSA member that unfortunately did not make the greatest hits offered by the speaker at the last board meeting. I believe it speaks to the positive impact that such a club can have on our students, so I'm going to read some of it now. Good evening, Miss Miller. I hope all is well. I don't know if you remember me still, as it's been a few years since I attended Dundee Crown. I was in your GSA club 2017 to 2018. I was thinking about you and reminiscing about the club a few days ago, and I thought I should reach out. I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you did for me. Through that club, I discovered my voice. I finally felt that I wasn't abandoned and that there was a place I could go to feel understood, to feel supported, to be safe, to be me. I was in a dark place at that time, and I genuinely believe that you and the people in that club kept me going. I do not have words to express my gratitude to have been able to know you and be in that club. I miss you deeply. You truly had a profound impact on me, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. When I left that school, I left with a newfound confidence and strength that I wouldn't have been able to develop without your support and help. You are one of an extremely small group of people I knew I could turn to and confide in. I still remember when I was standing in the hallway waiting for the bus, you had come up to me and said, "I never see you without a smile on your face. Never lose that beautiful smile." I will never forget that. In that time, I was so insecure about my smile, and from just that comment alone, I felt that maybe I could genuinely smile more, that there were people who took the time of day to notice that you exist and that you are more than just a student. There are so many things I wish I could say, but honestly, I'm not the best with words. Once more, thank you for everything. I don't think I would have lived to see sophomore year if I hadn't met you and been involved in that group. You guys gave me hope and made me realize that there is more to this world and this life. Things will not be bad forever, that there are good people who love and care about you. I still think about the conversations we had, the memories I have in that group. I still remember the night of noise and the day of silence. I'm sorry if this email is a jumbled mess. I'm not gonna lie, I may or may not be crying as I type this. That club meant so much to me, and I hope that fellow students experience the same amount of love, support, and compassion in that place as I had when I was there. It is my hope that they will too. The bottom line is we wouldn't need these clubs, the SEL lessons, or the DEI initiatives if people weren't teaching their kids hate and intolerance
Thank
at
you.
home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Henry Fiximer.
Hello, my name is Henry Fiximer, and I'm a parent and on the Parent Advisory Committee. Over the past couple of months, there's been a lot of fear and anger regarding LGBTQ+ kids. Between the outrage over trans girls, not boys, using girls' rooms and the cruel outing of queer kids at the last board meeting, I couldn't not speak. First, I want to applaud the board for standing by laws regarding policies to grant restroom and locker room access that align with student identities. Restrooms have stalls, and there are privacy options in locker rooms. If kids are checking out each other, that's a whole other issue. Recently, some parents claimed that their 7-year-old daughters have been uncomfortable or scared with trans girls sharing restrooms with them. The only reason a young child would be afraid is because they've been told they should be. Some parents claim that normalizing trans girls in restrooms that align with their identities desensitizes little girls so they wouldn't be alarmed by cisgender men following them into restrooms. That's not a thing. Some claim that any boy can say they're a girl and use the restrooms they want. Also not a thing. There's a process that each trans and non-binary student must go through in order to change which gender facilities they may use. One parent even suggested that kids who identify as cats can use litter boxes in some schools. Definitely not a thing. Do you know why some schools do have buckets with cat litter? It's because those are in case of active shooter lockdowns and kids have to pee and can't hold it. Think about that. Groups of people behave as though trans kids in restrooms are a greater concern than gunmen shooting children. It appalls me and should appall everyone that there are people who place more importance on keeping AR-15s easily available than protecting and nurturing transgender children. I've spoken mostly about trans students, but I want to say something to all of the LGBTQ+ kids, especially those who were outed. You are not alone, and you are loved unconditionally. When you are ready, we, your elders, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes, Lisa Kopetsky.
My name is Lisa Kopetsky, D300 graduate, physical education teacher, married mother of 2 boys that attend D300 schools. I share a unique perspective having grown up in this area, attended the schools, now teach in this district, and I'm a part of the LGBTQ community. It's relevant to our current issues in this district. From a very young age, I felt I was different from societal norms. I didn't have the words or understanding to articulate my feelings. I was 16 when I realized I was gay. Everything I knew about being gay was negative. I remained silent and tried to be invisible amongst my peers and parents. I grew up during the 80s and 90s, and it was very common to be verbally and physically assaulted for being gay. It's still happening, and kids are still rejected by their parents. When my parents found out that they believed it was a choice, and I suffered years of physical, mental, and verbal abuse, bullied at home and at school, I had no safe space. Between 15 and 17 years old, I moved out twice to escape. I stayed with friends and neighbors who knew I suffered, but didn't know all the reasons why. They only knew of the alcoholism that plagued my parents. My mother always found a way to lure me back, only to continue her abuse. School knew, and DCFS was involved many times. It wasn't until I turned 18 that I got out for good. The trauma from abuse set me up for more unhealthy relationships, poor decisions, and hard lessons. Back then, I thought suicide was the answer. I thankfully defeated that darkness, but our LGBTQ youth are more than 4 times as likely to commit suicide because they are stigmatized in society. Many are meant to feel as if they are broken, unlovable, and had no one to turn to. I know because I felt that. The reason I'm here today as a confident, strong, successful person is because of the teachers in this district that continually looked after me, showed compassion, and believed in me. It was my teachers and coaches that listened and encouraged me to get into counseling. Counselors helped me realize none of what I was going through was my fault and the dysfunction in my family was real. I wish I had known other LGBTQ kids, teachers, and parents, and we had a safe space to support each other. I know my teachers wanted to help more, but were afraid of the backlash from society or being accused of turning me queer. That's not simply true. I am unapologetically who I am. Being gay is not a choice, but choosing to be your authentic self is. It's my turn as an educator to be a strong role model and show support for our schools' need for LGBTQ groups. I stand here now as an example of having that support will continue to turn out people who succeed despite the worst odds, based on the adversities they face or just for being who they feel they are. Many years later, my mother finally accepted me. She finally realized and felt I should be treated equally and was proud of who I was. It took years of work to find forgiveness and peace between us. I wonder how different things could have been if she had had an outlet for support without judgment. I knew she would be here today supporting me. Our schools should and have all the representation for all students regardless of sexual orientation, race, gender identity, or background. It is imperative to the health and well-being of our school community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Joya Laro Grusik, and I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Joya Laro Geruso, and I have 2 daughters that are current students in District 300. I first want to thank the board for everything you have done these past few years. I have not always agreed with or liked the decisions that have been made, but I never doubted for a second that each of you made the decisions you did with the best interest of my children, our children in mind. After all, it does take a village, right? So with that in mind, I would like to speak directly to those individuals, staff, teachers, board members, administrators, and especially students who were impacted by the hateful display of self-righteousness, bigotry, and arrogance that took place at last month's board meeting. I want you to know that the only way to fight hate is with love, and you are loved. And I'm sorry that hate can be so loud. I'm sorry that a space you may have needed for safety, acceptance, and compassion was compromised without any warning or purpose. I am sorry that you have to share space with individuals in District 300 that don't see your beauty, your strength, and your courage. I am sorry that you may have been left with feelings of distrust, anxiety, and fear because your right to privacy was violated. To those staff members that were protecting our students, that were helping to keep their identity safe, thank you. I hope you know how powerful your actions are. I hope you know how impactful you are to our students. I hope you know how life-saving your words, protection, and acceptance is for our students and to our students. I hope you know there are so many of us in this community that see you, love you, and will fight for you to keep you safe. There are so many of us that are disgusted and outraged at the harmful actions of certain members of this community. Know that there are more of us than them, and the hatred of a few cannot and will not ever win over love. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 5 minutes. Thank you. Will be Kim Shellcross.
My name is Kim Shellcross. I'll be reading 3 letters today from former D300 students, all of whom emailed the board giving me permission to read them out loud. These were sent to you guys over the last 2 weeks, and I know you received them. Dear members of the Board of Education, I was a student at Dundee Crown High School, graduating class 2020. I remember when I was in high school, I used to pride myself on attending Dundee Crown because of the resources we poured into our LGBTQ+ community. It was unbelievable the amount of resources we had to help these students compared to other schools. In a previous board meeting, I heard that some private information regarding an LGBTQ+ club had been shared with the public. I remember a strong community that used to pour their hearts into these kids. It's disgraceful that information like this was allowed to be shared. I'm deeply sorry for those who were affected. Shame to the person who shared this information. Sincerely, Kyle Shellcross. That's letter 1. Letter 2. Hello, D300 board. This email is addressed from a student attending Illinois State University and gives Ms. Kim Shellcross permission to read it. As a graduated member from Dundee Crown High School and have a sibling currently attending as a sophomore, I still keep in touch with active events. Saying this in light of recent events regarding the exposure of an LGBTQ+ club whose purpose was to provide a safe space at school for those with a non-heterosexual orientation and/or gender identity. I am fearing for my sibling and their friends. The exposure came from a right-wing conservative parent group by the name of Restore D300, a group who has organized rallies against BLM, masking, CRT, etc. Why do I point this out? This current group has a following of over 1,000 members. That's 1,000 publicly supporting dangerous ideals by throwing the LGBTQ club into the spotlight, putting a target on their backs to be outed to parents, family members, peers, and more. This is not only bigoted, but it's dangerous, and I heed an extreme warrant of caution. Therefore, here's my question to you, board. What are you going to do to keep these kids safe? School is supposed to be an inclusive place of learning, so how are you going to keep this inclusive? End of letter. Regards, author of letter. While the board is aware of who sent this and emailed this letter to you guys, I am choosing not to read their name out loud since I have a sibling in the district, and I don't trust the community to not harass and attack the author of the sibling. Last letter. As much as I wish to attend the D300 board meeting on 11/15, I cannot make it as I am in college, so I authorized Kim Shellcross to speak on my behalf. To whom it may concern, my name is Dylan Shellcross. I'm a former student, D300 student, currently a senior at Illinois State University and openly bisexual. I want to thank the board's effort for what they did for me and my family during my time in the district. My son was always accepted. I met a lot of amazing people who played a critical role in my personal development in many aspects. I hope for the continued support for the younger parts of my generation to continue their education. I have been informed about an incident from a previous board meeting, and frankly, it shocked me. The privacy of staff, students, and their families was flagrantly violated in an egregious act of malice. I especially have great empathy for the impacted staff and students of various LGBTQ+ support clubs. As previously mentioned, I am bisexual, but I had the opportunity to come out when I felt comfortable doing so and was met with great support and understanding by my family. Not every person is guaranteed that liberty. In a just world, support groups like these would be ornamental with the absence of homophobia, transphobia, and general hate. The world in which we occupy does not meet that high standard. Thus, support groups for closeted LGBTQ+ kids are necessary to exist, and the privacy of its attendees must be protected. If an LGBTQ person is outed prematurely or in an unsafe environment, they are at an extremely high risk of prejudice, abuse, abandonment, and even self-harm. I want to protect my LGBTQ+ peers being in my frankly advantageous position. I have friends and even my own partner who has or is currently going through similar situations. The mental, emotional toll that an unsupportive family takes on them is enormous. I want to keep fighting on behalf of my peers and the many allies that surround us. Love will win against hate. I'll be concerned these kids will find their own families in the future. It may not necessarily be by blood, but it will sure as heck be thicker than blood. And also I wanted to just say, since I have a few seconds left, to thank the board for all that they do, and I want to recognize them today. It's a school board appreciation day, and I thank you guys very much. Both my kids are part of D300, and we've had a positive experience, and you guys have always been there for my kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes is Allie McPartland.
Good evening. My name is Allie McPartland, and I'm a parent of a child at Westfield. I'd also like to extend an extra special thanks to the board on this School Board Members Day. Thank you for all you do. I struggled when deciding whether or not I would speak here tonight. It feels in some ways like this country is regressing, and if I'm being honest, it pains me to think about it. It's an impossible feat to speak logic and reason to people who vigorously resist and reject logic and reason. It's difficult to speak truth and love to people whose hearts have been corrupted by fear and intolerance. It's fruitless to force people to recognize the difference between those unfounded fears and the reality of what actually happens in our school district. Still, I felt it was my responsibility to make my voice heard, not with the hope that I would change minds or share any earth-shattering observations. Tonight, I'm simply here to be one voice among the many voices that stand in solidarity with the members of our community who continue to be used as fodder for baseless culture wars. These culture wars are being propagated by people empowered to divide us, not for our benefit, but for their own. They prey on the fears of the ignorant, but in spite of the Chicken Littles of the world who opt to believe that the sky is falling, the majority of us will not be divided. So I'm here today to tell my LGBTQ friends and neighbors that you will continue to be supported. You will continue to be included. You will continue to be seen as perfect and worthy exactly as you are. As fellow human beings, the majority of this district will not rest until those people who propagate ignorance and intolerance are forced to silence, either out of shame or sheer exhaustion. The law is on our side. The ignorant chatter will change nothing. So stand tall and know that you have a powerful community behind you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes is Randy Gauthier.
Dear Board and Superintendent Harkin, my name is Randy Gauthier. I'm a mom to 3 children, 2 of which are current D300 students. I'm proud to be a former Gary D. Wright family tonight. That was really fun to watch them say the Pledge of Allegiance. I stand before you and my peers in support of our LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and their families. Thank you to those brave enough to speak and for guarding the door. I also have several people in my life I care deeply about who identify with the LGBTQIA+ community. I am an ally. I wish for acceptance and inclusivity in all of our schools and believe it is my responsibility not to only support those I care about, but to speak up and use my voice for good. We cannot go backwards, not as a society and not as a district. We must protect and validate our vulnerable youth and staff. These individuals have walked a path riddled with questioning, assumptions, concerns, and even hate, and it must not be allowed to continue. If anyone out there in our district and beyond is listening and is looking for a kind and safe person, I am and always will be there for you. While my first reason for standing before you today is to pledge my support of targeted and marginalized individuals, I'm also proud to be given the chance to say thank you to our board members. Your hard work, the hours you commit, the service you provide, and the dedication you give our students, staff, families, and district is noticed and appreciated by many. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes, Tom Tayerath. Oh, I got it right. Yes.
Hi, good evening. Hi, my name is Tom Tayerath. I am a homemaker and I am a mother of 5. My eldest child is an adult actively serving in the military in the United States Marine. I have 5 children altogether, 3 currently attending District 300. I'm here today to speak up for my child. He has informed me that his safety and well-being at school in Hampshire Middle School was being jeopardized. He was being discriminated against by one of your staff members at the school, a teacher. I'm told that when the staff member first entered the classroom, she had a box in the left hand and a drink in her right. Curious, a few of his classmates stood up, wanting to know what was inside the box, including Tyson. They began to surround her. He sees her placing the drink from her right hand onto the box, and then it struck against his left shoulder and began to yell at Tyson. "You made me spill my pop. It's your fault. Stay away from me. I never told you to get up from your seat. I don't want you to make me sick. I don't want your sickness. I don't want you to put your boogers in my box." Then I'm told she intended for a second strike, but then looked at the classroom. All the classmates stared at her. She began to shout, "I never seen such a disrespectful, bad-mannered kid in my life." Then she threw the box and drink in the garbage can, grab her bags, and leave the classroom. The school said, quote, "A full investigation was completed. I was not informed if any disciplining action was taken, nor did I feel any resolve with the current situation. This staff member is currently teaching at the school while my child is suffering, traumatized by the poor action towards a minor. She is supposed to teach, protect, and educate, not harm a child. I'm here to plead for my son. Please conduct your own investigation towards the staff member at the school." Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes is Kim Auckland.
Hello, my name is Kim Oakland, and I'm the parent of 2 kids in the district. I come here as a former GSA sponsor and member of PFLAG to thank the board and the district for all the work they are doing to make District 300 a place where diversity is celebrated, and for creating opportunities for community members, students, and staff members to embrace our differences. As a GSA sponsor, allow me to state what many already know. Confidentiality within the club is not done to deceive, lie, keep secrets, or manipulate. Confidentiality is necessary to protect our students, provide a safe space that they might not get anywhere else, and build trust among the group members and sponsors. To the students, teachers, and sponsors of these clubs, and for the students who feel unsafe at home, at school, and anywhere that doesn't accept and embrace your true and authentic self, I'd like to share an experience I had. I went to a conference featuring panels of young adult authors 7 years ago. A teacher asked the panel of authors discussing writing about tough subjects what she can do to support students in a school where administration is less than understanding and accepting. There were a few awkward moments of silence among the authors as they looked at one another. Finally, Bill Konigsberg, author of Openly Straight, The Bridge, and many other titles, said, "You have to be courageous," and the room broke out in applause. I think because that is the only real answer to the question, and also because it's so hard, and because we are always asking the same people to be courageous over and over again. I'm grateful that this is a district where so many courageous people work and live, so students don't have to feel like they are alone in this fight, even though I know that's hard to remember sometimes, especially when the loud voices are especially loud, especially mean, and severely misinformed. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for 3 minutes, Mike Tennis. Just give me, I'll pass them out. Thank you.
Mike Tennis, Sleepy Hollow. The board needs to direct the administration to reduce the increase in the tax levy by increasing the tax abatement for debt service by over $870,000. Rather than abating about $416,000, abate over $1,286,000. This will decrease the asking tax to $252.5 million, and the projected with recapture to $231.5 million, still $7.3 million over last year, or a 3.25% increase. The administration is asking for a $253.4 million tax levy, projected at a cap $232.4 million, a $29.1 million, 13% increase. September's financials have over $220 million of cash, likely more since cash increased $13.3 million last year after audit. In October, Raymond James reported the district would enjoy $18.8 million in interest savings from a forward refunding transaction, and that the district is in the best financial shape in 20 years. Arguments have been made to utilize the $18.8 million interest savings to support high-risk schools, even though generous program funding has yielded an Illinois report card with reading and math grade level performance below state averages. The administration proposes a $153 million master facility plan, while many existing facilities are underutilized. Teacher and student performance accountability lags as resources go to bricks and mortar. Future growth ignores the effect a housing recession is having and will have. District classroom size is lower than Kane averages, yet a 31% absentee rate is ignored. Compensation for teachers is below Kane averages, yet 93% of teachers are rated excellent or proficient, while student performance trails state averages. The district spends less per student than county averages, yet discipline is an issue in classrooms. Teachers aren't teaching to babysit at $13,800 a student, nor did taxpayers expect some graduating students require remedial courses for college. The administration is proposing projected taxes for a house value of $200,000 would decrease to $3,492 or $55. Savings assumes a 2% increase in home values, yet EVA and Kane will go up over 7% excluding new property. The proposed debt service abatement of $416,000 ignores the district's $18.8
Thank
million
you.
interest.
Our final speaker for 3 minutes is Kevin Finn.
Hi, I'm Kevin Finn. I'm a parent of a middle school student in the district, and I previously had one other student in District 300 as well. This is my first in-person school board meeting. I wanted to mention I appreciate that the board accepted and read public comments electronically during the pandemic. So thank you for maintaining public participation during a really difficult time. After hearing about the Swans Club discussion at the prior board meeting, I had sent an email to the board advocating your support of LGBTQ+ students in our school system. And after thinking about it further, I decided I wanted to stand up in person as an ally to ask for you to support students who may need that safe space. I believe the board has a responsibility to act in a way that protects student health and safety, and that thoroughly protecting student privacy is the best way to accomplish this. Other commenters tonight have made the reasons for that much more eloquently than I could do so. So in support of those values, I'd encourage the board to make your support of our students clear to the community by articulating what is the value of the Swans Club in terms of student safety, education, support, and harm reduction, what information is and is not available to parents for such clubs and why, and how D300 is aligned with state and national standards and norms. I believe most parents would support the board when you provide a clear, student-oriented rationale, policy, and procedures for club operations and parent involvement. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Item number 10, Superintendent's Report.
Yes,
Yes, yes, sir. Oh, yes, right ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to some of what we heard here tonight. First of all, with regard to the discipline issue going on in the schools, we had a pandemic that we have not fully recovered from yet. If you don't think about this period of the pandemic has been particularly difficult on children from the K-3 era. Because they have not been in school before. They don't know how to properly socialize. And as one of our assistant superintendents has said to us, they're speaking to us, but in a different way. And so, yes, there is a discipline issue, but it can't be treated just as a discipline issue because these are kids who are struggling to learn how to socialize and what it's like to go to school. And I think we need to be tolerant of that and work with that. Secondly, I'd like to respond to the whole LGBT issue in the Swans Club. Most of us raise our children to be independent thinkers who are prepared to take on life's challenges and to think for themselves. I don't think any one of us consciously raise our children to be clones of ourselves, at least I hope not. Children are naturally curious, depending upon their environment. They seek information either at home, from a friend, or from Dr. Google, or other such places that they now have access to that I never did when I was a child. In my household, there were no topics that were off limits. I have 3 kids. Our kids asked and got answers to their questions appropriate for their age and usually at dinner time. I acknowledge a lot of that impetus came from my wife, who is one of the bravest and strongest women I know. I confess that when many topics came up, I usually found that it was necessary for me to go do dishes. But my wife did not shy away from any question regarding any topic. Most of them came from a natural curiosity that kids have as they grow up. I've shared with you previously that one of my children is in the LGBT community. My child chose not to share that with my wife and I until they were a freshman in college, which was okay. That's when they were ready to tell us. Try to imagine your child's reaction if you confronted them before they were ready to share and said, hey, whatever your name is, are you, whatever that term might be, if their answer is yes, they immediately start to worry. They might be visible to what was it they've done that makes them so visible to you? Or if not, why would they think that you were thinking that? And if they're in the Swans Club, they would immediately wonder why you were worried about that, why you even knew about that. Suicide rates for 2019 in the United States were 16.4 people out of every 100,000. For a country the size of the United States, that's almost 50,000 people a year. Of that number, the LGBT community are at an astonishing 30% higher risk of suicide than every other child of that age. Higher risk than the rest of the population. In Illinois alone, there are 80,000 children who have publicly identified on a survey that they are a member of the LGBT community, and an additional 7% declined to answer. Public speakers number 1 and number 3 both mentioned suicide. One said, a student said, "I don't think I would have been a sophomore if it hadn't been for." The other one said they thought that possibly suicide was the answer. If you don't think your kids are thinking about it, you are sadly mistaken. My message to you today is that some of your children are in that group. Some of your children have thought about suicide. Some will commit suicide. I am aware that there were multiple suicides within our district last year. However, we do not make that information public, but I am aware that that's actually occurred. With regard to the Swans Group, I am totally supportive of that group, using a name that isn't definitive. It protects their privacy. If they want to change their name now, I would totally support that. It protects children who are not ready to discuss this with those that are absolutely closest to them. Maybe, just maybe, it's because of what they have observed in the home through their parents' and families' actions that sharing would cause them to not be accepted by their family. I can tell you that I had 2 nephews that used to tell inappropriate jokes at family gatherings, and I finally had to say to them, if you ever say that again, I'm going to knock your teeth out. And they stopped. And when they understood why, they were apologetic. It never happened again. And my whole family is accepting of my child and their status. Could you possibly be in the wrong here in the way you're treating your own child and what expectations you're putting on that child that you raised to be independent and an independent thinker? I encourage you to view the movie that's currently on Amazon Prime called The Geography Club. It covers this topic very well. And notice it's called The Geography Club, and I guarantee you when you watch it, it has nothing to do with geography. Please consider who is watching and listening to every time you open your mouth in your house, in your family, with your groups, and what you think or not. Your children don't miss it. They hear it, they see it, they understand. So what is the real issue here? Is it the issue of the name Swans, or is it somehow you feel you were misled as to what the actual purpose of the club is or what the name is? These children must find safe spaces and safe people to talk to, or they will become a statistic. I strongly encourage everyone to put their differences aside and think about what's best for your children and just love them.
Thank you. Ms. Zettler?
In a couple of minutes, you're going to hear a lot about why we do things in this district to protect these kids and what we base that ability, that responsibility, and that privilege on. I just want to say that this community, especially the women here and the men that came in tonight to support the LGBTQ plus community in our district and in our community in large, are just some of the amazing people out here that are in this area, supportive, will be by your side, will defend you to the end, and will make sure that you do have a safe place if you need one. Over the summer, I'm sure that a lot of you, if not all of us, were aware of the issues that were being brought out in the public about Uprising Cafe. Some people, relatively few, hateful people, attacked that establishment because they ran some drag queen like bingo and things of that nature. And it made me, I was scared. I was concerned that this would be something that would be taken on, you know, that would drive this business out of the community. Instead, hundreds of people in this community came out in support, and not just this community, but communities all around us, came out in support of that establishment and against the hate that was being thrown at them. That gives my heart cause to realize that we are larger and stronger than the hate that's out there. I am an ally. I am here. Anybody needs any help, like safe space, come talk to me anytime. You can get in touch with me through my G3 or my D300 board email anytime. And after you hear about why we do this, what's required of us, what we have the privilege of being able to do, then you will understand better why the Swans Club was the Swans Club and why we have to have clubs like that to protect our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Okay, Superintendent Harkin.
I'd like to invite Dr. Martina Smith up to the podium to have a little acknowledgement for Adopt a Board Member for our schools that are out in our audience today, and to recognize that today is Board Member Appreciation Day. So Dr. Smith, go.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Scarpino, Superintendent Harkin, and the community. Today is November 15th. It's School Board Members Day in Illinois, so we're here to celebrate. On behalf of our staff, students, and our community, District 300 would like to extend our deepest and most sincere thank you to each of our board members. Thank you, Board President Dr. David Scarpino, Board Vice President Nancy Zedler, Board Secretary Leslie Lamarca, Board Member Christine Burkett, Board Member Steve Fiorentino, Board Member Joe Stevens, and Board Member Emmanuel Thomas for your commitment and your contributions to our district, our schools, our students, and our community. District 300 board members adopt, enforce, and monitor all policies for management and governance of our annual budget, our schools, and our students. The responsibilities of board members become greater every year as they work to provide engaging and inclusive educational experiences that empower and equip all students to discover, innovate, and succeed now and in the future. District 300 board members serve their communities without monetary compensation. It is our board members' passion for their community and for public education that drives their dedication. I want to thank each of our board members for all you do for our district. In keeping with tradition, each year during our board member recognition presentation, several District 300 schools will adopt a board member. When schools adopt a board member, it serves as the foundation to build stronger relationships. Each board member will have the opportunity to visit his or her adopted school or schools, ensuring all board members are connected to the communities in which they serve. Tonight, we are joined by representatives from several District 300 schools. When I call your name, please come forward to greet your adopted board member. Principals, you ready? Board President Dr. David Scarpino is being adopted by Hampshire and Wright Elementary Schools. At this time, I ask Hampshire Elementary Principal Jennifer Nolan and staff members, and Wright Elementary Principal Dr. Melanie Gravel, and Assistant Principal Sarah Monroe to please come forward. Yes, please. They're going to come right up here to the front and give you a special gift.
Thanks for being here.
I was their principal. Thank you.
Board Vice President Nancy Zettler is being adopted by Gulfview Elementary School and Oak Ridge School. Tonight, we are joined by Gulfview Principal Pam Carlos and Oak Ridge Principal Stacy Wilkinson. Please come forward. Board Secretary Leslie Lamarca is being adopted by Newbert Elementary School. Tonight, we are joined by Principal Jennifer Breeze. Jen, please come forward.
Thank you.
Board Member Christine Burkett is being adopted by Parkview and Sleepy Hollow Elementary Schools. At this time, I ask Principal Kim Wright of Parkview and Assistant Principal Michelle Labinar and Sleepy Hollow Principal Dr. Angela Ranke to please come forward. Board Member Steve Fiorentino is being adopted by Lake in the Hills and Perry Elementary Schools. Tonight, we are joined by Lake in the Hills Principal, Mr. Robert Clabone, and Principal of Perry Elementary School, Ms. Susan Rowling. Please come forward.
Got it?
Board Member Joe Stevens is being adopted by Algonquin Lakes Elementary School. Tonight, we're joined by Algonquin Lakes Principal, Mr. Chris Columbaro. Would you please come forward? Board Member Mr. Emmanuel Thomas is being adopted by Westfield Community School. Tonight, we are joined by Westfield Assistant Principal John Gorby. And John, please come forward. I would like to thank our principals for attending tonight and our guests that are here with our principals, meeting and adopting our board members. I would also like to thank our board members again for all the time they spend volunteering and supporting our school district.
Principals and teachers, you could go because I know you. Please, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
very
everybody.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you very much.
And parents, thank you too for being here tonight, especially, and also for those accolades. It's really great. Thank you.
So I would like the next item to be presented, actually not by myself, but by our legal counsel, Colleen O'Keefe, to walk through our FOIA overview.
Thank you, Susan. Again, my name's Colleen O'Keefe. I'm the district's in-house legal counsel. We have
I don't know that
Your mic's not on.
There should be a button.
How about now? Okay, better? Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. So in the past few months, and more specifically the last couple board meetings, we've had a couple questions raised by board members, several questions raised by members of the community who have spoken. We get email questions in addition to calls from community members and parents regarding what the Freedom of Information Act is and how it works and what the district's responsible for providing if a request comes in. I know there's even a couple mentions of a Freedom of Information Act response that was provided in public participation this evening. So we wanted to provide just a very brief overview, a couple slides, and a few minutes of conversation about what the act is, the purpose of the act, and what the obligations of the district are with respect to requests that are filed pursuant to the act. So the purpose of the act in general, it speaks to all public bodies in Illinois, including school districts, which would include District 300, and it specifically provides for two things. It provides a right to the members of the public, and that right is for members of the public to be able to request documents in possession of the district's in possession of, and it provides an obligation on the district. So once a request for those documents come in, the district is then obligated to search, inspect, request of different employees within the district, any documents responsive to what the request is. Okay. So with respect to the requests themselves, there are a few things that we require. The request must be in writing. That is any form, any written form. That could be via fax, via email, via U.S. mail. There is a form on the district's website that you can either print out or download. We ideally request that the member of the public submit the request via the online submission process, which is located on the district's website. It's very easy to follow. If you click down on the top of the website under district information, FOIA has its own tab. All of the information regarding FOIA is located there, including a link to file a request. We ask that the request be as specific as possible. That does not mean that you need to request the specific document you're looking for, but we ask that parameters be put on the request so that we at least know where to start searching for the documents that you're requesting. So either a date range, a department, a specific title or of employee or type of document. Is it a financial document? Is it a curriculum document? So at least we know where to begin the process. The request can be anonymous, meaning that you do not have to put your name on the request, but we do need contact information from the requester so that we know who to provide the information to. So there are times that we get a request, but we don't know where to provide the documentation once we've complied with the request. And so we ask that at least accurate contact information be included on the request. And all requests are processed through our district FOIA officer. All public bodies are required to have a district FOIA, a FOIA officer. That person is trained annually. They are very knowledgeable in the specifics of what's required of the district and how to comply with the request. FOIA responses, what do they look like and what are they required to have? So the district is required to respond to a request within 5 business or working days. There are certain circumstances in which we can request an extension of that 5 days by 5 additional days. Those circumstances are if the request is quite extensive, maybe it brought back 60,000 documents, we're not going to be able to have the time to review and redact 60,000 documents in 5 days. So that might be a time in which we request additional time to respond. And also, depending on what type of document it is, may require the level of review to be more detailed and in depth. For instance, if the request is for emails, we are going to make sure that we read every email, that we redact any information that we cannot provide pursuant to the act, and that is going to require more time than, say, a request for a real estate deed, right? There's not going to be very much redaction there. So the time involved would, in review and redaction, would lend into whether or not a request for an extension is provided by the district. The district can, in response to a request, if that request has been made by someone in the past, simply point the current requester to maybe information already located on the district's website, rather than comply with the request in its entirety again. So that is a time-saving ability that the district does have. The district can deny the request, generally speaking, under two main conditions. The first is that it's deemed to be unduly burdensome on the operations of the district. Generally, that's when a large, extremely large volume of responsive documents is pulled once we search the parameters of the request. We do generally work with requesters when that happens, just ask if they can narrow their request. Is there any way in which the request can be narrowed, either time frame, search parameters, author of the document, so that the request, the revised request is not unduly burdensome and therefore we can comply. We can also deny a request if the same requester continues to make the same request over and over, which does happen. So one requester continues to submit the exact same request or request the exact same documents, maybe in a different form, a different question form. Those requests can be denied as well. We often, I shouldn't say often, but there are occasions when we have what are called repeated requesters, and those are requesters that submit so many requests within a certain time frame. We do have the ability to extend our response deadline from 5 days to 21 plus days, depending on how many requests have been submitted within a certain time period. What type of records do we generally provide when we receive these requests? The documents and the records provided come in all forms. They can include hard copy documents maintained in files. They can include electronic communications, electronic documents, records created on a normal course of business, no matter what form, are applicable to a FOIA request as long as those documents aren't protected under certain redaction requirements that I'm going to go over in a second. So as long as the requests speak to documents that we as a district maintain in our regular course of business, that those documents speak to the work that the district performs on a regular basis, and they're either prepared by or for the district, we are required to provide those records in response to a request. We do get requests, and this has been a recent topic of conversation among several requesters, for documents maintained by a third party that the district may contract with. So, for example, we are currently responding to a request for an air quality assessment or an environmental report that was performed in one of our buildings. The district itself did not perform the inspection. We hired an outside company to come in and perform that inspection. However, whatever documents that company created upon our request to do that inspection are going to be FOIA-able documents. So when a company or an agency engages in business with the district, they operate under the understanding that many of the documents that they're going to be creating are also FOIA-able documents. So when we have a request of that nature, the district's required to reach out to that agency, that contractor, to say, you know, here's the request, here are the documents that are being requested. We're asking that you supply us, the district, with those documents, and then we will turn around and supply them to the requester. We, as a district, have no ability to confirm that what documents are provided to us are complete. That obligation resides with the contractor, the third party. Our obligation is to simply request those documents be provided to us. We redact as required and then provide them to the requester. So I know there has been recent frustration by several requesters that what is being provided by third parties does not appear to be complete. But in those circumstances, we can only provide what is provided to the district. Okay? Things or documents, records that the district is not required to comply with is, keep in mind, the intent of this act is for the public to be able to request already existing documents and records. It is not the obligation of the district when we receive a request to then create a document that may be responsive to the request. We are only required to supply what documents and records already exist. The district is also not required to answer questions through the FOIA process. It is, again, a process in which you request records and the district provides the records. It is not a question-answer dialogue process. If there are questions or concerns regarding business operations, those are handled through other avenues within the district organization. It's also not the district's responsibility to provide an explanation or interpretation of what documents are provided. So often the district will provide a stack of documents and the requester will say, well, what are these? What do these mean? Please explain these to me. Again, that's not the purpose of FOIA. The purpose is simply to provide the documents and records required. Some of the types of records that generally fall within school districts that are considered exempt and that we do not provide are student records, student and employee health records, any private information. This is information generally retained in student records or employee records regarding social security numbers, personal contact information, or other highly sensitive information. Any student assessments or exams are not provided pursuant to FOIA. Those are protected from disclosure. Any sort of draft documents that may be in draft form or under deliberation or part of a discussion before they become final, those are not provided pursuant to FOIA. Any attorney-client privileged information is protected, and auditor records, and then contracts under negotiation. That's either labor contracts, real estate contracts, other contracts in which the district is currently engaging negotiation over. Yeah, with respect to redaction of that information that I just discussed, when a record may contain both personal information and public information, the district may choose to then redact what is personal and provide the remainder of the document that is a public document. In some cases, the requester of the information is a parent of a student or an employee requesting documents specific to themselves that may contain otherwise private information. That information is not private to the requester because it speaks to them. So for instance, in the example of a parent, if you are requesting information that may be considered a student record, you are otherwise entitled to that information pursuant to the Student Records Act. So we're not going to redact that information when that response is provided to you. In the event someone else requested that information would be redacted. We have started to engage in that process more recently because the number of FOIA requests has greatly increased recently, and the documents responsive to the FOIA requests have greatly increased recently. In the event a request is denied, either for a specific reason or the response is simply that a record doesn't exist, oftentimes a request will be made and there are no documents responsive to the request. So the reply to the requester is simply, no such documents exist. All requesters have the ability to appeal that decision to the Attorney General's office, specifically the Public Access Counselor. Within the Attorney General's office, that information is provided on our website as well as on the Attorney General's website. It's a fairly easy process to follow. There is a time frame constraint on that process, which is 60 days within receipt of the denial. And then there are some parameters put on what that looks like. It must be in writing and signed. And then any response provided by the district must be included with the appeal. Any questions from the board? Mrs. Lamarca.
All right, you said that we are required to have a FOIA officer.
We do.
Is that person the one person who has to gather all of this information, or is it like delegated out to whatever it pertains to?
Very good question. That person is responsible for ensuring that the response is provided within the time frame required. So that individual is either doing an email search on her own for documents responsive to the request, and then reaching out to whatever specific departments within the district that may retain documents or records specific to the request, so that they are provided with the time frame in which they must provide them. She is also responsible for reviewing and redacting all of the requests.
Okay, but what, I don't know how to put this question. I guess I'm trying to figure out like how many hours other employees are involved in this process that takes them away from other things they could be doing towards, for the district, for their positions.
So we are required to keep a time log of the time employees spend responding to each request. So I know Mr. Stevens in the past has asked for the time spent and the money involved in responding. So we are able to detail the amount of time each individual spent searching for and responding to the request. That monetary value is a little bit more difficult to keep track of, as you have hourly employees, you have salaried employees that are spending specific amounts of time responding to the request. That's not something we generally track. Mr. Fiorentino?
Yes, so on slide 41, I was a little surprised to not see staff student safety on that, as far as, we're familiar with most of these, but I thought that was covered.
Yeah, this is not an all-inclusive list.
Okay.
So forgive me if I didn't say that. These are just the
Got
most popular or the most used exceptions.
So if there was a request on the subject of staff and student safety, and we deem that would be potentially harmful to release that, we could withhold that information.
Yes, and we have in the past.
Okay, thank you.
We have invoked that exemption in the past.
Any other board members? Great presentation.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to invite up to the podium Dr. Liz Freeman and Dr. Martina Smith to give a brief overview of our ESSA and school summative designations. Just so you know, tonight they're just going to give a preliminary review. We will go into a deeper dive on the release of our ESSA and school summative designations, but these lovely ladies are going to provide you with a high-level overview, and then we'll be going into it deeper at the next board meeting.
Good evening, community members, Superintendent Harkin, Board of Education. I'm Dr. Liz Freeman, Chief Academic Officer, and with me is Dr. Martina Smith, Assistant Superintendent of Title I Schools. We are here tonight to share with you information about our school designations and our action plans to support schools. First, a little bit of context about ESSA. We know that we have a lot of acronyms in education. ESSA is the Every Student Succeeds Act, which was signed into law in 2015. This law replaced No Child Left Behind, commonly known as NCLB, and took effect in the 2017-2018 school year. ESSA was put in place to close achievement gaps and to improve graduation rates for all groups of students. The law also indicates that schools are required to identify and intervene for schools that have low performance or high schools that have a graduation rate less than 67%. As was the case with No Child Left Behind, the legislation requires that students are assessed in both reading and math in grades 3 through 8 and once in high school. English learners must also be tested after they have been in the country for a year. Also, students in special education must be tested, with only 1% of students being allowed to take an alternate assessment. In Illinois, that assessment is called the DLM. The other state accountability assessments are the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, known as the IAR, and the SAT for high school students. Each state is able to determine their ESSA components. Here you see the components that are the accountability measures in Illinois. K-8 schools are on the box on the left, and high schools are in the box on the right. For our elementary and middle schools, they're on the left. Accountability measures include reading and math growth, which are the largest percent of the total calculation. Absenteeism, which is 20% of the formula, reading and math proficiency, science participation, English learner progress to proficiency, and school climate are all calculated in the final metric. For high schools, the metric is calculated a bit differently. 50% of the formula is based on cohort graduation rates. Chronic absenteeism is also included for high schools. 9th grade on track, and just like the K-8 schools, there's a measure of school climate, science participation, and progress towards English learner proficiency. For those of you who like to see things graphically, these breakdowns are pictured here, provided by the Illinois State Board of Education. Again, with K-8 on the left, this is the exact same information that was on the slide prior, and high school on the right. It's just depicted in a graphic for you. From these components and formulas, schools get annual summative designations from the state. These are published every October in the Illinois School Report Card for every school in the state. Designations describe how well an individual school is meeting the needs of students and recognizes overall performance across a range of academics. It should be noted that the designations shared tonight are for the school's performance in 21-22, with the assessment being taken in spring of 2022. Summative designations help identify schools that need extra support because they are placed in a school improvement status, which may include certain groups of students who need support within a school that is performing reasonably well. When a school is put in school improvement status, they are identified that way for 4 years, which is intended to support long-lasting change and improvement. The state identifies 4 designations for schools. Exemplary indicates overall performance in the top 10% of all schools. They do not have any underperforming student groups, and if they are a high school, they have a graduation rate higher than 67%. Commendable is for schools that are not in the top 10% of Illinois schools. Like exemplary schools, they do not have any underperforming student groups, and they have a graduation rate that's higher than 67% if they are a high school. Targeted support is a designation when one or more student groups is performing below the all-student group of the lowest 5% of schools. These student groups must be made up of at least 20 students in 5 of the 8 indicators so that student anonymity is preserved. Schools with targeted support are in a 4-year cycle of school improvement. Comprehensive support is the designation for a school with overall performance in the bottom 5% of Title I eligible schools. It is also for any and all high schools with a graduation rate below 67%. Schools in comprehensive support are also in a 4-year cycle of school improvement. Next, I'll be sharing with you the District 300 schools that fall into each state designation. We are pleased to share with the board and the community that we have 3 elementary schools that are in exemplary status with overall performance in the top 10% of schools in Illinois. That designation is for Eastview, Gilbert, and Newbert Elementary Schools. On the next slide here, you see many D300 schools that have a summative designation of commendable. We have 12 elementary schools with a designation of commendable: Algonquin Lakes, Dundee Highlands, Gulfview, Hampshire, Lake in the Hills, Lakewood, Liberty, Lincoln Prairie, Meadowdale, Parkview, Sleepy Hollow, and Wright Elementary Schools. You will also see here our 5 middle schools and 3 high schools with commendable designations. They're listed here: Algonquin Middle, Carpentersville Middle, Dundee Middle, Hampshire Middle, Westfield Community School, along with Dundee Crown, Hampshire, and Jacobs High Schools. Moving along, you will see that there were no D300 schools identified for targeted support, and we have 1 school with comprehensive as a designation, which is Perry Elementary School. We are prepared to provide extensive support to students and staff at Perry Elementary School, which Dr. Smith will share with you in just a moment. Finally, it should be noted that we do have 3 District 300 schools that do not have summative designations this year. Oak Ridge School serves students from across the district, and their data is integrated with the high school and middle school that is their home serving school. DeLacy Family Education Center is our pre-K center. There are no state assessments for pre-K, so they will not have a designation under current legislation. And finally, our new school, Big Timber Elementary, which opened for students this fall. They will need 2 years of data before they are given a state designation. I will pass it over now to Dr. Martina Smith for additional information on how we will support Perry Elementary School and all schools in the coming months.
Thank you, Dr. Freeman. So currently, our next steps for Perry Elementary School. We are currently engaging in what's called an instructional review process, where our district team, along with the school team, spends a day together and analyze all of the data for all of our students. And we go in and support and determine what strategies we can add that'll additionally help the individual students at Perry Elementary School, as well as how we're spending our time instructionally, which is the second point you see there today. We are making the decision to increase the number of math and reading minutes that the students will receive direct instruction from their teachers during the second semester when we return from winter break. We have already began to extend additional professional development opportunities that our staff at Perry Elementary School can take back into the classroom. This is not an inclusive list, but that includes at the moment small group instructional strategies. That gives the teacher opportunities in their classroom to differentiate the delivery of the instruction at students' levels, the science of reading, and math workshop. The instructional coaching support has already been increased at Perry. That instructional support is also in reading and math. Lastly, as a state requirement, we are engaging with the state in a school improvement process that will be more comprehensive on that 4-year cycle that Dr. Freeman mentioned on the previous slides. So part of that school improvement process includes these steps as we start in our planning process with the state. We identify the local needs in a school leadership team. We are going to extend the school improvement plan because there's already a school improvement plan in place at all of our schools. We will engage in deepening the parts of that plan that are necessary. Relevant evidence-based practices and intervention, and we are also implementing and monitoring that school improvement plan once we get that in place. And lastly, examine, reflect, and adjust course. And what that means is when we make these instructional decisions at our building, we'll determine, are these the right strategies that we need to extend those growth opportunities and make sure our students are meeting and exceeding in the future, or do we need to change course? So we'll be looking at data and making those decisions as necessary on a regular basis. So how will all schools be supported? The Illinois Report Card and the annual summative designations allow our districts to reflect and strengthen our identified areas that we must address to ensure strong academic outcomes for all of our students. Work that is already in progress as a part of our newly approved strategic plan. The goal areas are developing the whole child, ensuring individual student growth and achievement, developing great staff and leaders, engaging all stakeholders, and using district resources equitably and efficiently. Our next steps will be at the December 13th board meeting. We will provide a comprehensive overview of student academic performance, and I will also provide an update about the progress and the next required steps to Perry's comprehensive plan. Questions?
Board members, any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. This board is, I think it's fair to say, not happy with this report. And we're specifically very not happy with Perry Elementary being in a comprehensive plan. And this board is very engaged with the administration to make sure that that gets turned around extremely quickly. And the board is working at its best in this regard. So I'm very happy with the way the board is reacting, but we are not happy. We've made that very well known, and it's being worked on. And thank you, Dr. Freeman and Dr. Smith.
Any other board members?
Yeah, and I would just say that, of course, that's not to take away from several schools that have amazing performances in this report. How often will we be receiving updates on some of the challenging situations, like a Perry? How often can we expect that?
So we will provide, as we work with the state on benchmarking for that piece. So I would say at least quarterly would be my assessment of how we can provide updates. Also, we do have our benchmarking assessments, which will let us know how things are trending. So we can certainly provide those updates to you. We'll be doing that first benchmark again in early December, and then we'll do it again in March and April. So I think that probably is the biggest indicator for us, but we will definitely keep providing you with updates on the specific work that's going along in alignment with our conversations with the state board and Illinois Empower on those conversations. So I would say minimally quarterly.
Quarterly. And just a follow-up, do you, I guess, again, towards Perry and any other challenging situations, do we see that there are any resource challenges at this moment? I know this is just recent information, but do we have any issues with resources?
You know, they've already uncovered some things that we believe should be in the buildings. And I know we're working on those, and I know Dr. Smith is heavily involved with all of this, and I believe that she's working directly with Mrs. White, our Director of Purchasing, to make sure, whether it's math manipulatives, whether it's things that potentially should be on the walls in the classroom. I know all of those things have been topics of discussion already, and the directive has been given, just make sure that we're taking care of it. We do receive grant funding for this as part of the designation, and so much of this will be supported through funding through the grant that we'll be receiving.
Any other board members? I have a question. I think it was slide 55. Yes, number 2. The instructional minute allocation, is that something that you worked with the teachers union about? And
Yes. So we have collaborated with the administration at Perry and the teachers union to increase those minutes where we're integrating any topics that need to be, so we can increase that individual time in ELA and math for the students.
Okay, thank you very much.
We did that collaboratively, yes.
Thank you. Any other board members? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, Dr. Scarpino?
No, all set. Thank you very much.
All right, next I'd like to invite up our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Adrian Harries, to give an update on the topics that was discussed earlier during public participation about our GSA.
Good evening, Dr. Harkin, Board of Education. As I start off, I do want to thank very quickly our inclusivity directors who helped me build this. I've got a wonderful team. I also want to thank all of our GSA coordinators. A number of them I know, and hopefully they've gone home for the night, but I know a number of them came out. They worked tirelessly to make sure that all of our kids are supported. So my role tonight is to provide explanation and an update on some of the laws that that exist in this country that kind of we understand and utilize to ensure that we support our LGBTQ plus community in the best way possible. But similar to Mr. Stevens, I want to start off with a little bit of data. The Trevor Project is a long existing organization that focuses on suicide prevention and mental health specifically targeting our LGBTQ plus community. They've conducted an annual report all the way back to, I want to say 2010 was the first year that they did it. And just a couple of bullets, and anybody that wants this, the full 2022 report is located here. But to the point that Mr. Stevens made, that 45% of our LGBTQ plus youth seriously consider attempting suicide within the last year. And that's up 15, the normal average is about 15 to 16%. Secondly, our LGBTQ plus youth who live in a community that is accepting of LGBT plus students reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide. And so the better we do in making sure that our students feel supported and welcomed, the lower that number is. And last but not least, fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be gender affirming. So that means we've got quite a few students that unfortunately that identify as transgender or gender non-binary are not able to have that support at home. So very quickly, the reason this was our starting point, all right, let me get my clicker. I got screen here and screen there. All right, a little bit more data from the Trevor Project, and I'm not going to go and over data this, but the one that I did want to pull out of here is that 73% of our LGBTQ plus youth reported that they have experienced discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity at least once in their lifetime. And just to go a little bit more in depth, the inclusivity team did read thoroughly through this report. A lot of that is actually indicated at schools. And so that was very alarming to us. One of the reasons why we lean on the Trevor Project is because we have to glean our data from somewhere to better understand where our students that are in the LGBT community are living in terms of how we best support them. So this actual resource is actually extremely vital to our work. To go back a little bit, because I know one of the questions that existed within this work was the question around name change. This is actually Pew data. That way all of our data is not coming out of one single source. That was taken during 2018. All right, and so the Pew data really speaks to perceptions of discrimination. And from this, it was gleaned that 58% of students that are part of the LGBTQ plus community had been subjected to slurs or jokes. And once again, the further you dig into this data, most of these actual instances take place at school. All right. To not overdata this, once again, all of this information is embedded in this PowerPoint, which I know is available for public consumption. So to get to some of the nitty-gritty, there are 2 major pieces of legislation that we utilize to actually make sure that we are supporting students through GSAs. First and foremost is the Federal Equal Access Act. It's a mouthful. That was written in 1984, and basically that prohibits federally funded public schools from allowing students to sponsor groups, basically, in essence, not to get caught up in the language. Originally, this law was actually enacted for groups that were trying to start religious groups, but over the last 40 years, other programs have actually utilized this law to allow students to develop student leadership-based groups. So, for example, our BYA, that all of our high schools, and we're hopefully one day moving that to our middle schools, this is the law that they lean on. Our HYAs and all of our high schools do have our Hispanic Youth Alliances. This is the law that they use. Our Asian American Pacific Islanders, all of our high schools do have a group supporting our Asian American Pacific Islander families. They also utilize this law. Last but not least, and probably most prominent, our GSAs are very supported by this law. The second law that I want to highlight is Title IX of the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, or OSER, what we often refer to as OSER. And very clearly they state that no person in the United States shall, based on sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or actively receiving federal financial assistance. And so the combination of OSER Title IX and the EAA says, basically in a nutshell, we have to provide an opportunity for our students that are part of the LGBT community to have groups if they so choose. Now, one of the things I do want to stress, these are student-driven groups and or organizations. All right, our coordinators do a beautiful job, but they are, at the end of the day, they coordinate students and facilitate their thoughts. And at the end of the day, our students guide these groups. But that I'll get to in a minute. So that doesn't speak to the individual question of, okay, why the name change? Why? And I want to say that 2018, 2019 were schools trying to identify other than GSAs, because in the past, that's how a lot of schools actually have identified their groups. And for that, we looked at two other pieces of legislation. One goes back to OSER. And in 2020, 2021, as organizations were looking at research, not only from Trevor, but from GLSEN, from a number of different organizations that were actually starting to study just our LGBTQ plus population and determine needs, a lot of new guidance started to pour out. And obviously a lot of this guidance got lost because as a country, we were going through a pandemic. And understandable, but the Office of Civil Rights put out basically that it's our right, and I don't want to get into the minutiae and read it, to protect the privacy of students, and I will read some of it. Protecting transgender students' privacy is critical to ensuring they are treated consistently with their gender identity. The department may find that a Title IX violation when a school limits students' educational rights or opportunities by failing to take reasonable steps to protect students' privacies related to their transgender status. All right. The next one I do want to highlight is ISBE passed similar guidance the year before that. And two things I do want to stress, it's a little small, but it sets parameters for information that educators can share when they become privy to the idea that a student is part of the LGBTQ community. It even goes so far as to say that if I am the teacher that a student comes out to, I cannot share that information with a colleague. That is the student's right and permission to share. And so my next door neighbor, I can't go, hey, look, because then I would actually be in violation of the law. It further goes on to say that we as educators must take a student-centered approach when it comes to who we share that information with. And we have to center the needs of the kid. I go back to what Trevor Project suggested. Only 1/3 of our population is actually going home to homes that are gender affirming. All right, and so unfortunately, and it's an unfortunate facet of our society, we cannot put kids in harm. Period. We always have to make sure that we err on the side of students. And so that's why guidance like this came into being, was to make sure that we as educators were protecting our students. All right, and so those are the legality pieces that we lean into. And so when you think about, and I'm gonna flip here before I pop back, if you think about our GSA coordinators and the quandary there, and at the end of the day, they dedicate themselves to support our kids that are part of the LGBT community, all right? Most of them actually spend quite a bit of time, because it's not only the meetings that they host, and Susan, I said I was gonna stick on, I never stick to script. It's not only the meetings that they host, but because these are student-driven and student-guided organizations, they have to meet with their exec board to make sure that they're actually doing what their students wanna do. That's not the actual meeting time that they host. And if you've ever worked with kids, that's never just one simple, like half an hour, 45-minute meeting where you come in, sit, boom, it's done, and you go home. Those are normally repeated meetings to make sure that when they actually do conduct a meeting, that the meeting runs smooth, because they don't run the meeting. It's the students that generally run the meeting, all right? And so it's literally one of the best facets of leadership development that we have, all of these clubs, because they are student guided. The facilitator is literally just there to facilitate. And so the quandary therein is that on the one hand, how do we create safe spaces where we're sheltering our kids, but understand the law and make sure that we're not putting kids in potential harm by outing students inappropriately? And not just when it comes to home, but also to other people within the building that don't know. And so that is actually what led to them trying to come up with ways that they could identify within the collective, okay, this is a club that is available for all of our students that are a part of the LGBT community and allies, but I'm aware that not everybody in our space might be out. I've had the privilege, and it is really a privilege, and I always ask before I enter, but I've had the privilege in sitting in on most of literally the most beautiful spaces, because they're kids that just want to be able to show up as their authentic selves and be protected. And so that's the quandary that a lot of our GSAs were under. And I remember a little bit of the conversation because I entered at the tail end. I wasn't here in 2018 when that conversation started. And the core piece was, how do we help our kids to be safe? And I was like, okay, if this is a place that I'm going to be, like, this is a beautiful place to start equity work. The one thing I do want to go back, because I know it was a question that was presented to us as a collective, is how does GSA provide support for students? And GSAs really take on the tenor of the students that are a part of the GSA, because the coordinator's job is to coordinate and to facilitate. It really boils down to what your student mix is. So I've actually seen some of our coordinators over a number of years, they're the same people, but the group of students that they're facilitating and coordinating are different. So they have different goals and or aims. I know if you show up to one of our GSAs, it is a very supportive environment, and it's really all around, okay, how can we help one another? I know I go to another, and it's a very social, and they're really just there to understand what one another are moving through. And we even have some that do lean more towards an activist, but it's all student driven. And the activism is generally, how do we better educate individuals about this club, about the things that we move through, and some of the discrimination that we deal with. And so at the end of the day, these are all beautiful organizations, and they really all exist for serving the purpose and needs of our students, to make sure all of our students are able to show up in their most authentic self. So we also wanted to make sure at the end of the day that we provided resources. We know that part of the problem is just information and what we're accessing. And so these are all quality sites that we're happy to make available, where people can pull some wonderful information to better understand our students from the LGBTQ community. So that's all I have.
Board members, any questions?
And I welcome
Yes,
them.
go ahead.
Sorry, I tried to stick to script, but.
Thank you, Mr. Harries, for putting this together with all this information. I think it's very valuable for the community to kind of see where the district is coming from with regard to GSAs. I also wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who shared tonight and came out in support of this community. I know that you were put in a situation at a previous board meeting where you felt compelled to come out and say something, and I'm sorry that happened, but I'm glad that you came out and shared your experiences, your emotions. And it was all very personal, and I couldn't help but be touched by what was shared today. I want to let you all know that I'm an ally of this community, and I will do what I can from this seat as a board member and as a parent to support the LGBTQ+ community in D300. Thank you.
Any other board members? Nancy?
Go ahead, Nancy. I was about to say, if I could back in on that, and I know I probably need to close my mouth, but hopefully our students were listening, because unfortunately our LGBTQ community has, not just our society-wise, has taken a beating over the last couple of years, and so hopefully they heard that beautiful outpour, because hopefully it lifted some spirits. That was beautiful, so thank you.
I just have a couple of clarifying questions.
Fire.
So I just want to make sure that it's clear.
Thank you.
Sure, not that you weren't clear, Adrian. I'm just.
You're good.
I like to reiterate. They'll tell you all the time. I like
No,
to
you're
reiterate.
good, Nancy.
Okay, so some of the things in it's interesting how these emergency feelings that people have all of a sudden seem to come up all over the country at the same time. It's amazing. But like, for instance, bathrooms, trans kids in bathrooms. They are under the law.
Yes.
Allowed to, welcome to use the bathrooms that they identify their
Yes,
gender with.
that is the legal. And once again, some of these laws came out in a time where, so if I want to clarify, that one came out in 2020. So that was actually one of those laws that, because everybody was focused on the pandemic, not everybody was aware of, but that is a legal thing. And we don't we have to follow the law, always. It's one of the things that Dr. Harkin always reminds, we always follow the law.
Sure. And those laws are meant to protect the kids?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's not meant to hurt parents?
No, not at all.
It's not meant to hurt kids that may not be trans using the same bathrooms?
Not at all.
But if there are children that use those bathrooms that are uncomfortable, if they find out that they're in the bathroom with somebody who's, in transitioning, we are mandated to provide them with other spaces to go if they're uncomfortable, correct?
Absolutely.
And
We're
we
not
do
allowed to discriminate against the student that needs to or wants to go there, but we actually provide alternative spaces for those people that are uncomfortable with the gender non-binary or the transgender that's using that facility.
So we do that?
Yes.
And that applies to locker rooms also, correct?
Yes.
So if a transitioning child goes to a girls' locker room, there are places that child can go to have privacy, and there are also places within that locker room where kids who are not transitioning can go to have privacy also.
That is the expectation. I have not been to every single, but that is the law.
We do our best to make sure that
Absolutely.
both sets of kids are comfortable.
Absolutely.
Okay. And there's no parent on this planet that I'm aware of that doesn't want to know what's going on with their kids every minute of every day.
Yeah.
And, it's like I was kind of set back when my kids when they turned 18. And all of a sudden, you get nothing. You get nothing. And you're like, what? You're like, wait, I don't get to know, how they're doing health-wise. I don't get to know how their grades are, even though I pay their bills, that kind of stuff. But also that's something that starts much earlier in life, correct? As far as a parent's right to have information about their kids and a kid's right to have privacy is something that grows. Like, my understanding is that at 12 years old, kids start having more of a privacy right that we have to start respecting in certain situations.
I don't know the specific age. That might be better for Colleen to answer. I know when it comes to how they identify in school spaces, yes, we have to actually lean on what the student wants and what the student dictates to us. So, for instance, we do have gender support plans. The student guides that process. And if a student says, look, I am not affirmed at home, so please, that's nobody's, then we have to follow that. That does put our principals, that does put some of our team in an interesting boat because we love to work in conjunction with parents. Sure. That's actually the preferred mechanism. But the worry and the reason that law exists, because if we don't follow that, we might be sending that kid home to a home of harm. And we can't know every home.
Okay.
So.
Let's see, hold on one second. All right, just so it's clear,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have any litter boxes in any of our bathrooms.
No, I
For God's sakes.
I remember the comment and yeah, no, we don't.
Okay, I think that's all I have.
All right.
Okay, any other board members? Mr. Harries, I can assure you that this district has over 20,000 students. And I have worked with these members for 2 years, some over 2 years. And I can assure the members here and the members watching that we are supportive, we are involved, and we will continue to be involved and support all 20,000 kids. Okay?
Beautiful.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and I invite, last but not least, it's been a long board meeting, Jennifer Porter to the podium to talk about the tentative tax levy.
Good evening, Superintendent Harkin, members of the board, staff, and community members. I'm here this evening to present the 2022 tentative levy, which we are required to do every year regarding how we are levying taxes to our taxpayers. And I will tell you right now, I'm not going to be as animated as Dr. Harries when I'm talking about this subject. First and foremost, every recommendation we bring forward is in the best interest of our current and future students. We want to provide every opportunity for our students to discover, innovate, and succeed. District 300 is in our best financial shape in the last 20 years. We have strong fund balances and a sustainable financial model to ensure our financial stability is something our entire community can take pride in. We did this by operating under a balanced budget each year, by building up our cash reserves, by restructuring our debt to pay it down, and funding capital projects with operating surpluses to avoid taking on additional debt. And we did this all while having a declining tax rate for the last 7 years. Our district's financial strength provides us with the ability to pursue some of the most important drivers for student success. For example, we can prioritize attracting the most highly qualified and talented candidates who are aligned to the district's mission and vision. We can maintain our current staffing levels without making reductions, and as we navigate through a tight labor market, we are positioned to retain staff. We can continue to provide a low teacher-to-student ratio that is conducive to learning and provide resources to ensure every student has the tools to become successful inside and outside of the classroom. And we can continue to maintain and improve our facilities and grounds to ensure that we provide our students with ideal and safe learning environments. In addition to all of those items, our district's financial strengths afford us the flexibility to maximize our tax levy while simultaneously reducing the homeowner's tax rate. All of us are impacted by the current economic environment. We know that inflation has complicated the lives of some in our community. We feel we will be able to provide our students, staff, and community with resources while reducing District 300's tax rate. As you may recall, District 300 is subject to the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, known as PTEL. Therefore, our overall taxes that we extend yearly are limited to those rates, generally the lesser of 5% or CPI. Per the property tax process, the district submits the tax request to the county clerk's office by the last Tuesday in December. In the spring, the assessor's office will finalize the assessed valuation property values, which are based on market conditions and the addition of new property. The county clerk is responsible for setting the maximum allowable tax rate. To do this, they must take the previous year's extension amount plus any allowable increase authorized by the bond and interest payment schedule and divide that by the final EAV to set the district's tax rate. We then approve the final tax rate based on the amount you, the board, authorized in December as part of the property tax levy. 5 items go into how we develop the tax rate: the prior year cap tax extension, the computer price index, CPI, the valuation of property in District 300, also known as EAV, new property, and then what amount our bond and interest payments are during the levy year. The first step is to look at the prior year actual levy. In levy year 2021, we levied $224 million, and our overall tax rate was 5.314. From there, we build in some assumptions that we then factor in how we project what we want to extend for the following year. In 2021, our overall EAV was a little over $4.3 billion. In our ask, we are estimating new property of $248 million based on projections from the county assessors and a $50 million cushion. When we add the $248 million in new property to overall prior year EAV, we estimate the levy 22 EAV to increase to $4.5 billion. The change in the prior year EAV is expected to be at a modest increase of 2%, and the consumer price index that is used for the levy year 2022 property taxes is 5%. Because of PTEL, we are capped at that 5% instead of utilizing the actual CPI of 7%. We overestimate our request for new property and our extension amount to accommodate any unforeseen variances related to the final EAV and any new property used in the PTEL calculation in April, especially since the district resides in 4 counties. We want to ensure that any additional EAV that might come on the books, because that helps our overall taxpayers. In PTEL situations, if we don't claim all that property, we will never get the opportunity to get that property tax revenue back. Lastly, we included an abatement of $415,000 from earnings from the latest bond refunding. So with our ask, which again is an overestimated amount, we'd go from $224 million in levy year 2021 for a total extension to $253 million in 2022. If you look at our overall tax rate, you'll see an increase from 5.314 to 5.5369 in this scenario. Again, in our ask, we want to overestimate our levy to capture any new dollars associated with any additional EAV that might come on the books. Because if we don't claim that property, we will never get the opportunity to get that property tax dollar revenues back. Due to state statute, there are maximum rates that we are limited to. For example, if you look at the special education rates, the maximum rate is 0.80. If you look at our ask, we're asking for 0.874. However, the max rate that the county clerk's office will ensure is only that 0.8% or 0.80. Now we're going to look at what we are projecting utilizing the information we have today, what we believe the actual numbers will be, and what it will look like to local taxpayers. The only thing we really see changing here is that the new property is $198 million instead of the $248, and that's from taking away the $50 million cushion. When we do the calculations and the expected EAV of $198 million, the district expects to collect $232 million for levy year 2022. The overall tax rate is expected to drop from 5.314 to 5.1346. This calculation takes into consideration the assumptions that I highlighted in the previous slide, and it includes previous year's recapture of $6.9 million. And that is due to the Cook County Assessor's Office delaying the finalization of the district's 2021 levy. Because of this delay, Kane, McHenry, and DeKalb counties did not pick up that EAV. And that EAV was from the EDA that came on the books. Therefore, those counties will not only add the EAV as new property, but we also should see that recapture. So how does this affect our homeowners for levy year from levy year 2021? In this slide, we show the difference for a homeowner with a home value at $200,000 for tax levy year 21. For a home that was valued at $200,000 in 21 and sees a 2% increase in the value of their home for 2022, they are projected to see a $48 decrease. For the same home that was valued in 21 at $200,000, if that value was to remain flat, they would see a savings of $117. Again, these figures are based on preliminary information we have today. The actual tax rates will not be known until April or May. What happened?
Oh, there we go.
This is a historical chart of the last 10 years of the district's tax levy information. As you can see, the lowest CPI in the last 10 years was in 2016 at 0.7%, and the highest previous to this year was in 2020 at 2.3%. The district's EAV was at its lowest point in 2014 due to the recession when home values declined. After 2014, the EAV has steadily increased up to $4.3 billion in levy year 2021. In 2021, new property was at its highest due to the EDA coming on the tax rolls. The district's tax rate has continued to decrease since 2015, which has been good for all of our taxpayers. I do want to mention that the 2021 figures are not final because of the delays in the Cook County Assessor's Office that I mentioned previously. This chart shows how District 300's 21 tax rate was compared to all of the other unit districts in Kane County. The blue bars represent the other unit districts in the county, and the red bar represents District 300. As you can see, we are the 4th lowest rate in the county. Historically, we have shown the impact of tax increment financing, otherwise known as TIF districts. In 21, we had 29 TIF districts within the D300 boundaries. Nearly $6.2 million of property taxes were diverted to local municipalities for targeted economic developments. Later tonight, the board will be asked to vote on adopting the tentative levy resolution. This resolution will approve the tentative levy and authorize the district to post the required legal ad on December 5th, notifying the public of the hearing for the 22 levy on December 13th. At that meeting, the taxpayers or anyone in the public can come and speak about the levy. The board will vote that night on the adoption of the 22 certificate of tax levy. My office will then file the tax levy on December 14th with all 4 counties. In April 2023, the county's clerks will finalize the tax rates, and in May 2023, the district will begin to receive property tax dollars associated with this levy. Thank you for your time this evening, and I will take any questions that you may have.
Board members, yes. I want you talking to your mic. Talking to your mic, Elizabeth.
Sorry.
What is it?
I don't know, I can't read it.
Slide 80?
80.
Yeah,
80?
80.
Yeah, 80.
Yeah.
80.
those numbers are different.
Yeah, those numbers are different than what we
They're the
have.
actual tax rate of 5.31. That's what our actual tax rate is.
That's what this says too.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. There must have been some final changes
There was a
after we
change.
printed out what's in, so if you're comparing what's in front of you,
Yeah.
they must have made some updates from what was printed
What-
out for you
that
today.
5.31, I'm sorry, is relative to what our 2021 actual tax rate was, is 5.314.
Okay.
No, that doesn't, so
But I'm
what
talking
we
about
have as
slide
hard
80. Got it.
copies here is not the same.
Got
So
it.
go back
Yeah.
to slide 80. For some reason, we have some slight
Yeah.
differences, so we'll go through and figure out why those changes have been made, so you have that explained to you.
Okay.
So, Yep,
Thank you.
great question.
Any other board members? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Item number 11 for discussion is Board Policy 2:230. I'd just like our attorney, Colleen O'Keefe, just to give a quick overview of it, please.
Sure, so. Okay, I think so.
Can you hear?
Okay.
You can.
So the 2 proposed changes before you this evening, this is with respect to Board Policy 2:230, public participation at school board meetings. The proposed changes are specifically with respect to requests for extended public participation speaking time. Right now, all public participants are granted 3 minutes up to a total of 2 hours of participation. This clause allows for speakers to request extended time under certain parameters. There are 2 very minor changes being proposed. The first is currently any request for extended time must come within 48 hours of a board meeting. If you read that literally, that could be within minutes of the board meeting starting, and that becomes very difficult for the rest of the process to play itself out with respect to the board having opportunity to read it, digest it, make a decision on whether or not they're going to grant it. So the proposed change pushes that request back to 8 a.m. on the day prior to the meeting for which the extended time is requested. So for example, tonight's meeting, that would have been 8 a.m. yesterday morning. So that would have allowed you yesterday and today to go through the process.
And so the form would stay the same, it's just the requirement of when we will see it to then make a decision on it,
Correct.
approve or not, okay.
And then there will be the second suggested amendment is simply, right now, requests are granted could be granted if they speak to a specific agenda topic. So the discussion the board had previously is what parameters are you using to grant or deny such requests? And one of the determinations the board previously made was, well, we would consider granting a request if the topic of conversation was related to an agenda topic, not simply a topic of personal interest. It was something the board previously spoke on or a topic they would be speaking on.
So they would reflect that in that request, that it was a past agenda item, so that we would know that.
Exactly. The additional language simply requests that the person completing the document be specific as to what agenda topic
Okay.
they are speaking in reference to. And those are the 2 proposed changes.
Any questions, board members? No? Thank you very much. We're now on item 12, the consent items under $25,000. As a reminder to those in attendance and those watching virtually, some of these items have been previously vetted through either the Finance or Construction Facilities Oversight Committee, CFOC. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items under $25,000?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Stevens,
Aye.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Burkett,
Aye.
Thomas, Zettler,
Aye.
Scarpino.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 13, consent items over $25,000. As a reminder to those in attendance and those watching virtually, each of these items has been previously vetted through either the Finance or Construction Facilities Oversight Committee, CFOC. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items over $25,000?
So moved.
Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Lamarca, aye. Zettler,
Aye.
Scarpino.
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Thomas, Fiorentino.
Aye.
Burkett.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 14, roll call action items. I will read each item individually. 14.1, approval of tentative levy and resolutions and approval to publish public hearing notice.
So moved.
May I have a motion for the approval of the tentative levy and resolutions and approval to publish the public hearing notice?
So moved.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Stevens,
Aye.
Zettler, Scarpino.
Aye.
Burkett,
Aye.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Thomas. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 14.2, consideration and action on a resolution abating a portion of the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on the district's general obligation refunding school bonds, Series 2022. May I have a motion for the consideration and action on a resolution abating a portion of the taxes heretofore levied for the year 2022 to pay debt service on the district's general obligation refunding school bonds, Series 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Burkett,
Aye.
Thomas. Fiorentino,
Aye.
Scarpino.
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Stevens,
Aye.
Zettler.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 14.3, approval of interfund transfers resolution and approval to publish public hearing notice. May I have a motion for the approval of interfund transfers resolution and approval to publish public hearing notice?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Stevens,
Aye.
Zettler,
Aye.
Burkett,
Aye.
Scarpino.
Aye.
Fiorentino.
Aye.
Thomas. Lamarca, aye. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 14.4, student discipline case number 2. I will read some language right now. Motion to expel student number 2 for the remainder of the 2022-2023 academic year, summer of 2023, and through semester 1 of the 2023-2024 school year. It is recommended the student is expelled for violation of Board Policy 7:190, specifically disobeying rules of student conduct or directives from staff members or school officials, and engaging in any activity on or off campus that interferes with, disrupts, or adversely affects the school environment, school operations, or an educational function, including but not limited to conduct that may be reasonably be considered to be a threat or an attempted intimidation of a staff member, or B, endanger the health or safety of students, staff, or school property. Upon return, the student will be administratively placed accordingly. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Zettler,
Aye.
Thomas, Stevens,
Aye.
Scarpino,
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Burkett.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 14.5, employee discipline case number 1. I have a resolution that I'm going to read. Be it resolved by the Board of Education, the Board of Community Unit School District 300, Kane, McHenry, Cook, and DeKalb Counties, Illinois, the district, as follows. Number 1, the President and Secretary of this Board of Education are hereby authorized and directed to serve or cause to be served on Daniel Wagner, a tenured teacher in the school district, a 3-day unpaid suspension for engaging in unprofessional behavior and a notice to remedy, substantially in the form of Exhibit 1, attached hereto and made a part hereof. The notice to remedy references deficiencies in the performance and conduct of the employee which, if not remediated, may result in the employee's dismissal. The notice to remedy also references directives which, if not followed, may result in the employee's dismissal. Number 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon its adoption. Number 3, the 3-day unpaid suspension days will be served on dates to be determined by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. If approved, this will be adopted this 15th day of November, 2022 by a roll call vote. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Zettler,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Burkett,
Aye.
Fiorentino,
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Scarpino,
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item 15, board discussion. Board members, anything? No. No? Okay. Any board members have anything they wish to share or talk about?
Happy Thanksgiving.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Item number 16, do I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing 1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, 2, parenthesis 1, number 2, litigation, 2, parenthesis 11, 3, student disciplinary cases, 2, parenthesis 9, and 4, security procedures, school building safety and security, and the use of personnel to respond to an actual, a threatened, or a reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property, 2, parenthesis 8. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Madam Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Thomas. Aye. Fiorentino,
Aye.
Scarpino,
Aye.
Lamarca, aye. Thomas. Oh, I already said you. Zettler. Stevens. Steve. And Ms. Burkett.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, and there will be no action taken in closed session. Thank you.